Jack, as you know, we're all about giving value here at Colour Plane. So what we're going to do, we're committing to 3 podcasts a week. They're going to be released on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. That's here in Melbourne.
That's a lot of podcasts.
That is a lot of podcasts, Jack, but we wouldn't have it any other way.
We're all about bringing value on this Colour Plane podcast. And so I think 3 per week feels right to us. A way that you guys can give us a little bit of value in doing so would be to please follow and give us 5 stars if you guys enjoy. We'd really, really appreciate it.
Mean the world, guys. Thank you so much. Enjoy.
Is entrepreneurship all it's made out to be? Jesse, what do you think?
Mate, it's an absolute journey. And I believe it'd be different for everyone.
I think so, yeah. It's definitely a roller coaster and you're going to have a lot of ups and downs. And do you call yourself an entrepreneur often?
I have a bit of an issue with the word. I don't know. I think it's just being used a lot throughout society and very broadly as well. I'd love to use a new word, but I'm not sure what that word is.
Yeah, I think it's that thing that people look at, especially from a 9 to 5, people would look at and go like, what really is entrepreneurship? So today we're going to touch on what entrepreneurship looks like for us and maybe some things that we have learnt over the years from being quote unquote entrepreneurs, some things we stay away from, some habits we like to implement to help us on our journey. And yeah, I think it's just going to be cool for people to get an inside look into what it actually looks like.
I'm going to lead us off with some things that entrepreneurs need to be really wary of. Australia has a seriously, deeply embedded drug and alcohol issue.
We do. Yeah, we have a really bad problem. I think we've been voted the drunkest country in the world multiple times. I think the last one was 2021, if I'm right. Yeah, the Global Drug Survey.
You can't go out anywhere without seeing it.
No. And yeah, it goes for drugs as well, not just alcohol, cocaine, meth. I think we consume the most per capita in the world, which it's scary, yeah. But I suppose it's just something that's, always been around and that's how we're brought up and that's what our culture's built on. So,
I mean, Jack, it's scary for anyone, like any individual, but I think especially an entrepreneur, because I think you have to be at your absolute best all the time, ready to seize opportunities. I mean, if you look at us as a real case example, we haven't been paid yet. We don't know when that payment's going to come, hopefully soon, but we have to be ready and seize every single opportunity to ensure that happens.
Yeah, it's a far different, I guess, structure to a 9 to 5, where I feel like the 9 to 5 is more set up for that drug culture. And the way I say that is because, you've got structured work hours, you're working, 5 days a week, Friday night you can go out and have a big one because Saturday you got nothing on. But as an entrepreneur, you don't. Like, you have no structure. You have to be flexible. Your most amazing opportunity could arise at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning. And if you've gone out and got blind the night before, then you're probably not going to be ready to seize that moment. So I think that's like kind of the main message and that we want to tell. And I suppose that's kind of how we have been living our lives, and we found great value in that from an entrepreneurial perspective.
And balance is important. I think definitely don't be afraid to have a beer here and there and do your thing. But with that said, you just really have to be aware of that fine line. The moment you cross it, that could be your whole business, right? You could go under seriously on that habit alone. Yeah,
I think it's just worth recognizing that as an entrepreneur, you don't want what everyone else wants. So, you might have lots of friends that work, jobs during the week and they love to go out and get drunk on a Friday and Saturday night every week. And you might enjoy it too from time to time, but they don't want what you want and they don't know what it takes to be an entrepreneur and kind of lead your own ship. And so, yeah, I think it's just really important that you are wary of how much you are consuming both of those things. And yeah, I think that's, really enough said.
Yeah, agreed.
Cool. So another, I guess, thing that we try to steer clear of is cutting corners.
Yeah, I think long-term thinking has always been one of our number one principles. Cutting corners in society or on social media gets you nowhere. I think people see through it really quickly.
100%.
When you're just money driven and that's all you care about, that comes out in your marketing, the way you treat customers. You need to be there for the long term.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny bringing this up. It's interesting that Meta, I guess you call them, But Instagram, they've just introduced that you can actually pay for a blue tick verification.
Yeah, what the hell's going on with that?
Yeah, they've just rolled it out to, I think, only Australia and New Zealand this week to begin with.
How much is it?
It's like $10. I don't know if was it a month? $10 a month?
That is wild.
Something like that.
I feel like society is just like, how are we ever going to tell who's legit and who's not?
Yeah, I guess you don't really know. It's probably a credibility thing. Like, you don't know who's who, and I don't know. I guess I'm mixed on it because I think there are a few very good perks, and I think customer service was one that they said they were introducing. So if you have this blue tick verification, then you get access to customer service, which has never been offered previously on Instagram.
Okay, so some decent perks, but I just can't wrap my head around, like, I can barely tell if someone's wearing a fake Rolex or like you're photoshopping themselves in front of a Lamborghini. Like, now they have a blue tick. I'm gonna be rattled.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think it's just a metaphor for like a bigger picture thing too. Obviously, within entrepreneurship, like, you don't want to be shortchanging yourself or others, as that stuff, whatever it is, it can come in 100 different ways, but that stuff is going to catch up to you down the line at some point.
Yeah, it always rears its head.
Yeah, which is the main message I think we want to tell, is make sure you're doing all those little things really well and you're not cutting those corners, and that's going to hold you in really good stead, I think.
I agree.
So that's something else we probably try to steer clear of. Another one kind of ties into the drugs and alcohol is being unhealthy or having a bad diet and not exercising.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on the beers with all your mates, like, you very rarely go out and go for a run or anything like that. So
it's a lot more difficult.
Yeah, incredibly. And I think, as we said, society's really built around people working in 9-to-5 corporate office culture. So I think most of the drugs and alcohol I see is just 90% of the whole of society is doing those roles. So best believe most of the drugs and alcohol consumption's built in those circles. So if you spend a lot of time around people doing 9-to-5 things, and most of our friends are, so I don't want to cancel myself from all my friendship groups and loved ones and family. But with that said, I think there is some really strong cultural dynamics that have been built there.
Yeah.
Just be wary of it.
Yeah. And it comes back to just, what do you want, right? Like, do you want, if as an entrepreneur, you want different things, so that your values are going to align differently to potentially some friends or some different friendship groups, which is fine. That's normal. It happens.
Couldn't agree more. I think, no, I shouldn't. I'm not going to run my mouth. Yeah.
Let's run your mouth?
No, let's go to the next topic.
No, well, I think this ties in really well to the idea that you don't want to spend time with people that don't align value-wise. Don't want to spend time with people that align value-wise. Yeah,
I think as an entrepreneur, you're in this really sort of wide space of uncertainty. And I think one of the greatest traits is to hang out with people that have a like-minded skill set, goals, and you'd be super shocked when you start hanging out with those types of people where you can end up. And often, literally, they can take you through their networks, through their mindset, and that can be an absolute game changer.
Environment is everything. And we believe in that a lot, and probably something that we've really focused on, this last 12 months, and I think it's been paying dividends in, what we're doing at Colour Plan.
Yeah, I've heard from people I respect, and I say it to myself all the time, that you're the average sum of your 5 best friends. Mm-hmm. And when you write those 5 people out on a piece of paper, I think maybe in the Bible, is it show me your friends and I'll show you like who you are?
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but it's along those lines. It's been an old adage that forever, and it's interesting. I really do believe, think about someone and their 5 best friends, and just go through your head in what traits and what they display, and you can literally pick that 6th person.
Yeah, it's crazy how accurate that often is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jack, we would never make anyone pay for this information in this podcast.
Never, Jess.
No way. We're in this for the long term. We want to be doing this for a serious long time to come. Jack, what's the best way to go about it?
Guys, the one thing you can do, a small ask that we have, is if you could please just review and rate the podcast, give us a follow. That stuff goes so far for us. Not only does it help us keep doing what we're doing with this podcast, but it can also, have an impact on someone else who might not come across our podcast if it wasn't for that follow or that rate or review. So guys, please do that for us. That'd be much appreciated.
5 stars just under the logo, guys. Jump on the homepage. 5 stars. Love you.
All right. So we just touched on a few things that we try not to do.
Yeah, try stay clear of.
Try stay clear of as an entrepreneur. Let's go into a few things that maybe we found to be beneficial, or maybe some habits that we've implemented that we think every entrepreneur, should implement or be good at least.
Yeah, I'd say communication, just off the top of my head, is vital. If you can't communicate as an entrepreneur, like, as you're working for yourself, all the responsibilities on you, you're gonna have a really hard time.
Yeah, and I suppose so much is coming at you and things are changing so rapidly. So it's the timing of the communication too. Like, you have to be, as soon as things comes up, you have to be able to communicate that, in a clear and concise manner, in a confident way, to whoever needs to hear it.
Yeah, back to opportunity. We have this saying between us: it's strike the iron while it's hot. And I think things arise and you don't know how long they stand for. And early on in your journey, I think they stand for a much smaller amount of time, because once you have built a really strong customer base and reputation in society, I think opportunities are always there and probably exist for a lot longer. But when you're young and like us, we're a year into this game, anything pops up, like, we got to drive there, we got to be there, we got to take the phone call, because we just can't let things slip.
Mm-hmm. And then I think another one that ties into communication directly is being a good listener.
Definitely.
Now, I feel like this can come in a few different forms, but a few, I guess, traits of a good listener, I would say, they listen. So they're not speaking maybe quite as much. They're letting other people talk. And then on the back side of that, they're asking really thoughtful questions. So asking the right questions, I think, shows signs that you are a really good listener.
Definitely. I think there's a famous saying that you don't learn when you talk. You learn when you listen. So
that's good.
I like that one.
My old man is a big advocate for, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Sure, I like that a lot.
Yeah, and if you knew my old man, it makes sense.
Definitely.
He's a very good listener.
Shout out to Noel.
Yeah. So I think listening, that's a huge one. Time management, I think, is another pivotal one that you have to have down pat as an entrepreneur.
Man, I think that could be the most important out of this list, and they're all probably equally important. But I think if you can't allocate where you're going to be, how you're going to present yourself, you're just so behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
Typically, you're a small business, there's 1 or 2 of you, and you're trying to act like there's 10 of you, with your time, energy. And if you can't get everywhere and be everywhere, it's just going to take forever to grow, really.
Yeah, you're definitely going to have to prioritize, learn to say no, learn to say yes.
True.
All those kind of things, and they tie into time management well. Writing things down, we've said it before, do it. It helps a lot.
Yeah, pen to paper.
Giving value and, I guess, being generous, I think, is probably another.
Yeah, we won't dive in deep. I think people have heard this for the right. We're happy that you've heard this a million times, because we're going to talk about it a million times more. But you just have to give value. You have to be generous. Everything will come back around eventually. But give. Don't look to receive or take. I feel like these are all very Bible-esque messages, but they've been around forever, these types of things.
They are. Yeah, they definitely are.
We won't go much longer, but that is an absolute principle of this podcast.
Cool. And then I want to touch on one to finish, and I think that is a really important one, in that you should try and be where your feet are at all times. So, in other words, being present.
Yeah. You're very good at this, actually. I'm not surprised why you brought this up. Do you have any?
Yeah, I just think for me, back to like having to be your best in every single moment, and you're gonna, as an entrepreneur, you're gonna tackle a lot of different things in a day, go through a lot of different emotions. So I think you have to be ready to deal with all that and deal with it in the best way that you can. And for me, it's really helped. We're here now, we're filming a podcast. This is all that matters, and then we'll leave, and maybe tonight I'll see my girlfriend, and that's all that matters. And it's really important one for separating your business life and your personal life as well. I think if you're not, if you're always thinking about other things, then you're going to drag a lot of those lives into each other. And yeah, that's often not the best thing.
Yeah. And I think that's probably what I learned. It's the area I learned most from you. It's definitely probably the area, it is the area I struggle most with. I think with my mind, I like to drag ideas across everywhere from my life. And there's definitely benefits to that approach, but I think the negatives do outweigh, unfortunately, admitting that. So yeah, I think you do an incredible job of that, Jack, and
Appreciate you.
Yeah, and it helps me just, I mean, like this morning, it's probably too much information, but I was on the toilet and it's 5 a.m. and it's getting my senses. And I was just so stressed for that 2 minutes there. Just like, fuck, this is so much. Like, I never ever think this, but I did. I was like, it would be nice to be in a 9 to 5 right now. Just like have some stability, know where I'm going to what office. Because I think we have like 3 different meetings today with different people with different values, and there's so much comes thick and fast. And sometimes I just want that stability of a 9 to 5, but it's funny, about an hour or two later, I was like back in absolute love with what we're doing. And it's you know, you're going to have those moments of doubt.
100%. Yeah, it's what it's all about. Back to where we started. It's going to be a roller coaster, being an entrepreneur. And I don't think you can go through it without having, you know, some high highs and some low lows. So, you know, you have to be ready for those. And I think the things we touched on today, if you do follow some of those, they're going to hold you in really good stead.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks, guys.